Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Dynasty After Dark. We're your hosts, Calvin Timms and Dale Terry. You can find us over on X at TDC_Calvin and at Dynasty_Dale. I think I'm getting used to the whole X Twitter transition a little bit better here. It's taken a while. It's still awkward.
It's still really weird because
very
it's
awkward.
Technically X, but it's Twitter.com.
I know it's odd.
It's still really weird.
Twix, that's what I was going to start calling it. I was just going to start calling it Twix. You can find the podcast over on Twix at FF After Dark, and you can find the podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Google, Rumble, if you're into the Rumble. Rumble's growing like crazy, man, so maybe we can get in early over there. But that said, while you're over there, if you can, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate you guys subscribing. We're trying to grow. We've grown quite a bit this year, and we really do appreciate that from you guys. And if you can, also like, comment on the video. Just helps us with the algorithm, gets it out there to more people, blah, 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 blah. But that said, Dale, how are we doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great. It is the day before actual NFL football, and I'm loving it. I'm very excited to get back, just enjoying my I'm just enjoying my entire weekend watching college football and then NFL and then wrapping it up on Monday night with hopefully a barn burner this week with the Jets and Bills. So yeah,
it's going to be a good one. That one might be a little bit more of a defensive struggle than I think people want to admit, but
I believe so too. Yeah.
We will see. We will see for sure. But that said, before we get to the weekend, we're going to go through Thursday night, and we are changing the in-season content. If you checked out my Cooper Kupp video yesterday, I kind of talked about it a little bit there as well. But what we're going to be doing here going forward through the season, we're going to do a couple, off videos, dynasty trading posts, or whatever you want to call it there. We're going to talk about some of the college players at some point here in the season, just kind of refreshing some of the guys that are standing out. We'll do a full rookie review after the season as well, but we're going to give you the off video. We're going to keep doing that throughout the season, but we're also going to be adding a weekly recap, or not recap, but a weekly preview for all of the games for the upcoming week. And this week, because it's week one, there's really not much to go off of other than projections that we've been going over for months and months and months. So we're just going to talk about this one just to kind of get the feel of it. You can let us know down in the comments how you like the flow of this video, and this is a little bit more of an experiment for you guys. You can totally give us feedback and we would appreciate it. But we're going to talk about some of the players, how we think this game is going to go a little bit, and we're going to talk a few betting lines as well at the end. So like I said, please subscribe to the channel if you like this content. We're going to be coming out with it all season long, so thank you guys for checking it out. Now, let's get into this one. It is going to be the season opener, Thursday night, 8:20 in Kansas City. I think it's on NBC, if I remember correctly. Yep. Next week, it goes to Prime, so we got one NBC game. I can only imagine how much they pay for the rights to this game, but it's going to be a banger, in my opinion. Now, you've got some big storylines that are kind of going on in the NFL right now. The Kansas City Chiefs don't have Frank Clark. He is a holdout officially, I believe, as of today. They're not going to be able to even activate him in time, confirm if he's healthy, all that stuff. Travis Kelce is also probably going to miss this game and a couple of weeks going forward, potentially. It's kind of crazy. Everyone thought that he was Zeus and he was indestructible, but it's not a good sign when you're that old at the tight end position and you have a couple of knee injuries. It's usually the beginning of the end, but maybe Travis Kelce's a special player, so it's very likely he'll be able to get back on the field and be dominant again. But this is the first crack we've seen in Travis Kelce so far in his armor. Let's talk about, do you want to talk about the Detroit Lions or the Kansas City Chiefs first?
Let's go ahead and talk about the defending champs.
Defending champs. All right. So Patrick Mahomes, he's washed up. He's terrible now. That's what Dale said before the podcast. So you can defend your point on why he's bad, but Patrick Mahomes is still a Hall of Famer. Gonna be a Hall of Famer, first ballot easily. Probably, maybe the GOAT. I don't know. He's not there yet. Tom Brady's still the GOAT, but if anybody's going to give him a run for his money, it's going to be Patrick Mahomes for sure. Are we expecting a blowout performance by him? You know, I'm just looking at Sleeper here, 4-point passing touchdowns, 23 points projected. Man, I don't know.
I mean, I think he's going to put up the yardage. I'm not sure about the touchdowns. You know, I mean, he's probably going to throw. He's going to have to throw for almost 300 yards, in my opinion, or almost 400. Excuse me. Probably it's for them to win and be successful.
Right.
I don't think they have a super good running game with Pacheco and Clyde's washed. You know, so it's going to be
McKinnon's still there too, as well as the pass catching back.
Yeah. So you know, I think the Lions are going to try to show off their stout front seven, and see how that goes. I think it's going to be I think it's going to be tough sledding on the ground. You know, I think, you know, I don't believe a lot of. I think the over under on Pacheco for rushing yards is 51.5. So, you know, I
would take the over on that personally.
Yeah,
he's such a spastic runner. Like, it's crazy how he can just, you know, move his little feet and just bust off a 20-yard run out of nowhere. So I would actually probably take the over on that. I think that Pacheco's going to have a decent night because they're going to play a little bit softer because of the loss of Travis Kelce. I'm anticipating, you know, the Lions are going to play. It's going to be a lot easier of a night for them. You know, Kadarius Toney's active, Skyy Moore, MVS. But if you look at those players, you know, they have Rashee Rice, Richie James, Justin Watson as well active for this game. This is not the same Kansas City receiving core that you used to be scared of, right? When it was Tyreek Hill and a couple of nobodies as well. But now it's just a couple of nobodies. I mean, MVS, he's got the known drop problems. You cannot trust that guy at all. He's going to have his games where he's going to pop off completely, and it's the one game of the year where he catches everything that comes his way. But, you know, he's going to drop some big plays down the field. You don't really have to cover him as tightly as some of the other guys because of that. You know, the concentration drops that he has all the time. Kadarius Toney, all you got to do is hit him once, and he's probably going to go out of the game with an injury. Skyy Moore is a little unproven at this point. I don't know if he can handle being the one for this team, especially without Travis Kelce. And then again, you've got Justin Watson, Rashee Rice, and Richie James. I think that it's going to be a good night for the Detroit Lions defense. It's going to be easier for them. I could see a lot more, you know, 3-and-outs for the team, especially in the first half. And this is kind of the way I was thinking about this earlier. I envision it going very Kansas City unfavored in the first half. Like, Detroit's going to have their way with them a little bit more in the first half. Andy Reid's going to make some adjustments, and then, you know, probably in the second half they're going to come back and keep the game close. But yeah, I don't know if this is the week that you're going to love Patrick Mahomes. I think he is going to have a little bit of a disappointing, you know, performance in this one. And it's not because it's his fault, but I do like the Detroit Lions defense. And I think that the loss of Kelce, this short notice, is not going to be helpful for the Chiefs. And that's my opinion. Go ahead.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I think it's going to be tough sledding for both teams. You know, I feel the first couple of weeks it's tough for the offenses to kind of pick up a little bit. You know, I don't really expect there to be a lot of offensive explosion games, you know, in week one, and with this one being probably one of the higher over unders of the weekend, you know, I think it's going to take less shine because of the Travis Kelce injury, which he did. Well, it's to recap his injury. Like he injured his knee.
They're saying bone bruise, but you know, anytime ACL is thrown out there, it
was like a hyperextension of his knee.
Yeah, it's scary.
Is what they're calling it. So,
it's way scarier than what they're making it sound like. You know what I mean?
I'm sure it is. Yes, yeah. So you know, I think I really expect Skyy Moore to step up. You know, I really like what Kadarius Toney brings to the plate, but he is made out of glass. So, you know, I don't really trust him. And with the rookie Rashee Rice, you know, I think
he could have a sneaky performance in this one.
Yes, he can. And somebody to watch out for is Justin Ross, in my opinion. You know, very talented. He's very talented, but he's made of glass as well. He is. He is, but he's probably one of the more talented wide receivers in that room. So, I do expect him to play pretty well. And for the player props for the Chiefs, there's not really a whole lot on here.
Sure. Let's save the player props for the very end. Yep. We'll talk some of those here in just a minute. Before we get into that, so if you had to rank these receivers, how would you rank them 1 to 3 based on what you expect fantasy-wise? And you can include Noah Gray in there as well, I guess.
Right. I would probably say I would have probably more. I would say more MVS and then Rashee Rice. And I like Toney, but I think he's more of the gadget guy, and I don't think they're gonna have him out there a whole lot. And if he does, it's gonna be more gadget plays, in my opinion.
Fair enough. And if it was for me, I probably would have it Skyy Moore, probably Jerrick McKinnon, and then Kadarius Toney. Yeah. I think I think Toney's going to be out there just enough. He's explosive enough that his touches are going to be useful, but I don't think he's going to get a ton of them. So, like I said, possibly a down night for the Kansas City Chiefs. I know everyone's excited about them because they are the defending champs, but temper your expectations. We've never seen this team with Mahomes without Travis Kelce, so just keep that in mind. And if he underperforms, you will kind of have a good indication why. Patrick Mahomes, he might be the GOAT, but this receiving core leaves a lot to be desired, so that's for sure. Now let's flip over to the Detroit Lions. Jared Goff leading this group up, and Jared Goff he was once regarded as the potential future, kind of disregarded as he went off to Detroit, and has kind of reestablished himself as a good quarterback, not an elite guy, but a solid player. I think he's going to be just fine. He's kind of shown over the years that he'll be fine for fantasy football, especially with this system. Ben Johnson is a good offensive coordinator. Running back-wise, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery. I thought the Jahmyr Gibbs had a quote that came out today that he could easily see himself going for 1,000 rushing yards and 500 receiving yards, which is very interesting, only for the fact that everyone has him penciled in as such a dominant receiving threat. He only thinks in his own head that he's going to have 500 receiving yards. That's kind of scary because that means that he's not going to be able to live up to the potential value that people are drafting him at. You know what I mean? That might be a kind of a slip of the tongue where he's saying what his usage is going to be, or what their planned usage of him is going to be. That scared me a little bit, and I don't think a lot of people picked up on that. But, Jahmyr Gibbs, Dave Montgomery, who do you think is going to have the better night of the two? Is it still Gibbs?
I only think Gibbs because of the receiving threat.
Sure.
I know there's a lot of people that are really high on the Lions and how their offense can be high flying, and it's going to be, it's the best Lions team we've seen in our lifetimes, to be honest. But I'm skeptical of that, and I think I personally think they're going to be like the Browns were a couple years ago, like a team we hyped up, but they're going to just not perform as well. So
fair enough.
But with that, I do believe Gibbs is going to be something special. And I think they're going to hyper target him. And have him out in the backfield, have him running. If there's any goal line work though, it's going to be David Montgomery. I don't really expect to see Gibbs a lot out of a lot there in the heavy goal line packages. In the green zone area, I would expect that, but not really in the red zone or in the 5-yard line to the zone. So
fair enough.
So I do think Gibbs is going to have. I don't think he's going to have like a super special night, but I think he's going to impress.
Yeah, I think it all comes down to whoever gets the touchdown between these two guys. So we'll see how that kind of goes. Receiver-wise, Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's kind of the only one that I'm interested in starting for the receivers.
100%.
It's just not an exciting group of guys there, but I do think that Amon-Ra is going to be just fine. He's going to get targeted out the wazoo.
It's gonna be crazy.
He's probably gonna have like 14 targets in this game. I could really see that.
Probably.
Now the last guy quickly that I want to touch on is Sam Laporta. I want to start him so badly because all reports are he's the number 2 in this offense right now, and we don't know if that's going to be the case when Jameson gets back, but Jameson's gone for the next 6 weeks. So Sam Laporta is very, very interesting. The Chiefs aren't going to have any tape on him, and, I don't like the Chiefs defense that much. I don't think it's that dominant. So Laporta, especially without Frank Clark on the defensive side for the Chiefs, he's not going to have to block as much in this game, and he's going to be able to kind of run free a little bit more. So I think that he's actually going to have, I could see him having like 7 or 8 targets in this game. Now, what he's going to do with those, it's all up in the air. But
it's different,
for a rookie tight end that you can just kind of throw in, I would not be surprised if he had 7 targets, 5 catches for 70 yards and a touchdown. And that's decent. That is a very decent tight end week this upcoming week. So just want to put my stamp of approval on Sam Laporta, but we can go into some betting lines here really quickly. You said the over/under is what again?
Is on DraftKings it's 4.5 right now. In favor of Kansas City. It's with an over/under of 53.
Over/under 53. I'm taking I'm going to take the under on that, and I know that this is one of the highest ones, but I'm just a little nervous. I think that the Detroit defense is much better, and I think that with the lack of Travis Kelce, it's going to be harder for these receivers to kind of get as open as they normally do. So I'm going to take the under, and just think that it's going to be a more of a defensive kind of grind in this one for the season opener. What about you?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I can see this being like a 24-20 kind of shootout. And
comes down to a field goal at the end or something.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a field goal game. I really think these defenses are better than what we think, and I think the offenses are going to be sluggish in the beginning because they are missing a lot of weapons on both sides. Like JMO is out for the Lions. Which he may not affect the stat line, but he will affect other players and how the defense
way the defense covers and moves and things like that. So
absolutely. So I think it's going to be a lot closer.
So you're taking the under?
It's the under, and I'm going to take the Lions with the points. Is what I'm going to do. Okay.
All right. I was going to say, I'm going to take the Lions with the points as well, and I'm actually going to take the Lions straight up. I think they're going to win this game. I think that their defense is better, and I think that people are writing them off a little bit too much, and I think that this team is good. We saw them start to rally at the end of last year, and the tides have turned for the Detroit Lions. So I think they're going to come out here. If Travis Kelce was out there, it would be a different story, but I do think that the Detroit Lions are going to be able to win this one. Give me 2 player props here, and we'll wrap up with those.
All right, so it's the first player prop I like is Amon-Ra St. Brown over under 74.5 receiving yards.
Oh man. That's a good line. That's a good line.
It really is.
I was hoping you'd give me a softball, man. It's the first one of the season.
I know. It's one I like.
Sure. What would you take with it?
Go first. I think I'm going to go with the over. I think he goes a little bit over. I can see him doing like 8 for 80 and a touchdown. Is what I'm going to.
I think from a volume only standpoint, I think he's going to get over. So I would take the over as well. It's going to take quite a few catches, but he's very good as well. So one big explosive play would just be perfectly fine. What's Laporta's line? Let me hear that one.
Sam Laporta's line is over under 29.5.
Over. Slam the over. Slam it.
Yeah.
That's the one I want. Give me those kind of.
It's with that though. Like Jared Goff's over under is 258.5. So
that's pretty close.
I'm thinking that too. And then with Patrick Mahomes, his is 286.5. So I think personally, I'm taking the over on Patrick Mahomes. I can see him having closer to 300 yards in a very sneaky 300-yard game. And with Jared Goff, I think he's going to go a tick under. I can see him going like 240, 250 in this game, and throwing a touchdown, maybe even 2 touchdowns. And I think he's going to have an untimely interception to end the game, in my opinion.
We will see. We will definitely see.
Yeah.
So all right. So that is our recap, or our preview, I guess, for the Detroit Lions versus Kansas City Chiefs. We'll talk about this a little bit more next week and kind of see how this went. But let us know your thoughts on how this breakdown goes and what you'd like to see us add or kind of take out, what you think is a little unnecessary, things like that. Again, this is a work in progress. We don't really know what this is going to look like. We're trying to feel it out and see what feels a little bit more natural. We'll get into the swing of things as things kind of go on here, but your feedback is definitely appreciated. So again, you can find us over on Twitter at TDC_Calvin, at Dynasty_Dale. You can find the podcast at FF After Dark on YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, Google, all those places. Again, give us your feedback. We like to hear it. Until next time, thank you guys so much for listening. Have a good night.